Let's pause for a minute to talk about Anchor by Spotify. Anchor is an easy-to-use, one-stop shop to create and host your podcast. When we started making Sleeping with the Numbers, we used other hosts first that forced us to manually upload to Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But with Anchor, you simply upload to a single spot, and it distributes it automatically to all of these locations. But that isn't all. With Anchor, you can easily record, edit, and even add music directly from Spotify to your podcast to make it sound even better. So if you've been waiting around to create a podcast, wait no longer, because Anchor by Spotify makes it extremely easy to do. Anchor is completely free and can be used by downloading the mobile app on iOS or Android, or even right from their website, anchor.fm. Make an account today and get podcasting.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Pat and Dylan here going to go through our machine learning model picks as well as our picks for the upcoming season, week 14. Going to make our picks for the upcoming week. That is week 14. But first, we're going to do a question of the day. So what do you got, Pat?
You have to pick one team in the hunt to make the playoffs and get either the 6 or 7 seed. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, so I'll kick it off here. So just to kind of reiterate who's in and who's out as of right now, Friday, December 10th. In the AFC, Patriots, Titans, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers, Bengals, Bills are all currently in. On the bubble are the Colts, Raiders, Steelers, Browns, Broncos, Dolphins. Technically, the Jets and the Jaguars can still make it. Houston is out, but we're not going to consider the Jets and the Jags. On the NFC side, Cardinals, Packers, Bucks, Cowboys, Rams, 49ers, Vikings. Currently in, and then on the bubble, we got Eagles, Carolina, Atlanta, the Saints, and then likely the Giants, Bears, Seahawks, and Lions are also very unlikely. So for me, I am going to go with the Washington football team. This was a difficult one. Pat, I think I would have much rather had yours. But just kind of looking at their matchup here, future matchups, they play the Cowboys this week. I don't expect them to win this one. But then they have the Eagles. I think they can win that one. Cowboys again. Again, I don't think they win that one. Then Eagles again, and then the Giants. If they can win 3 out of the next 5, I believe that they can make it into the playoffs. If you look at playoffstatus.com at the moment, Washington football team currently has a 57% chance of making it into the playoffs. And they control their own destiny, which is something that usually isn't the case this late into the season. So it's a tough one, but I am going to take the Washington football team.
Yeah, I think Washington's a good choice. I think that they definitely have the opportunity to make it in. Another team that I'm going to pick in a crappy division like the NFC East is going to be the Colts. And I think that looking at their schedule, they play the Patriots and the Cardinals next, but after that they have the Raiders and the Jags. So they should be at least 2 for 2. And thinking to myself, okay, well, 2 for 2 is not really going to do it. But the other teams in the hunt are like right on the cusp. The Raiders play an above 500 schedule. They'll probably maybe win 1 or 2. The Browns play Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals, so they may win 2. The Bills, who currently hold one of the wild card spots, they might not do it because they play the Buccaneers and the Patriots. So to me, I think that's probably 2 losses. And then they have Panthers, Falcons, Jets, which I would assume would be 3 wins, but I don't really trust the Bills right now, unfortunately. So I think that there's a good opportunity for the Colts to sneak in because I don't think that Buffalo is going to hold on to their spot. And the other team in the hunt is Pittsburgh, and they play the Titans, Chiefs, Browns, and Ravens, and I could realistically see that being an 0-4 run. So it sucks, but I think the Colts have the best schedule to make it in. I think the Bills are a better team, but I just don't trust them.
Fair enough. So let's get into these matchups here. Like I said, it is Friday, so the Thursday night game already happened. It was a game that was played technically. So Minnesota does win the game. Steelers decided to score all of their points in the final quarter. Fantasy-wise, pretty good game for anyone you would start. So good for them. Model picked Minnesota to win and cover. That did happen. So off to a good start here with the model. Just to recap how things went last week for us, Pat. We did pretty well again. So in terms of the money line, I went 9-4. Pat, you went 10-3. And that's on me. I picked Baltimore to win, and I was at that game. I was in the end zone for that failed 2-point conversion that cost them the game. So that's me. But hey, at least that shows that when I make my picks, I'm not biased. But Pat, that Steeler game did turn the tide and let you get that 10-3 on the money line. We were both positive as well on the spread. I went 7-6. Pat, you killed it at 9-4. So, follow us. We're pretty good at this.
Well, I think what he's saying is follow me.
Follow Pat if you want more money. Follow me if you want hit or miss. So let's jump into the next games that are going on. We have a AFC North matchup. Baltimore going to Cleveland. Baltimore coming off that loss to the Steelers, which is now even more embarrassing for them. But their offense just looks to be in shambles here. And that's a little worrying because Cleveland's defense is pretty good. So with this matchup here, it's an important one. Cleveland still technically has a shot at playoffs. And if they win here, they could technically still make a run for the division leader. If they lose, I think that almost just kills their chances. And let me just confirm that real quick. If the Browns win this game, their chances go from 21% to 32%. But if they lose, their chances go down to 9%. So basically knocking them out of the playoffs if they do not win this matchup. What is the line here? We got the line. It is Cleveland is actually favored. Cleveland is a -3 home favorite, over under 42.5 points, which, you think of the Ravens, you normally would think they're a high scoring team. They're not. They're barely breaking 20 points a game. So with that said, Pat, who are you confident in betting on this game?
I think I'm more confident in Baltimore. I think Cleveland's shown that of the two messes, they're probably the messier team. And I think Baltimore, even though their offense really hasn't really been great, I think that they have the better setup. So I don't necessarily know how they're going to handle Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but what I do know is that Lamar Jackson's better than Baker, and Hollywood Brown is better than anybody on the Browns. So I'm going to take Baltimore to win and cover.
So Cleveland, talk about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Cleveland gets the most fantasy points for their running backs, and Baltimore allows the 9th fewest points to fantasy running backs. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see. And in the past 4 weeks, Baltimore actually gives up the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs. Not saying you'll ever sit Nick Chubb, but just a interesting tidbit here. But Pat, I do agree with you. I'm going to be taking Baltimore to win and cover as well. The model is going to be doing the same. Another divisional matchup here. The team I just talked about, the Washington football team, takes on Dallas at home. The Washington football team is only 4.5 point home underdogs. Pat, that's an easy Dallas win, Dallas spread for me. 4.5 is not nearly enough points.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody knows something, and that makes me nervous. But I don't know. I think people want Washington to look better than what they really are. And what's kind of scary, and I always bring these up because this is when, I call them trap games. 75% of the money bets are on Dallas, but 64% of the money's on Washington. So those always make me nervous because then that makes me feel like somebody knows something and everybody else is just stupid. But I think in reality, the Cowboys are too good to lose this game. They may not make the spread. It might be closer than what we think because the Cowboys, got their butts kicked by the Raiders, but they haven't been super hot. They kind of beat a crappy New Orleans team. They barely lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Chiefs, and they blew out the Falcons, which doesn't really tell me anything about who they are right now.
Yeah.
So, and same thing with Washington. They barely beat the Raiders, barely beat Seattle, kind of beat Carolina, somehow beat Tampa Bay, which to me, that means nothing because you have one good win and 3 crappy wins. So it's a coin toss. I think it'll be close, but I think Dallas is the better team. So I'll take them to win, and I'll take Washington to cover. I feel like that's what these numbers are telling me to do.
All right. And that's what we do. We sleep with those numbers.
Yes.
Yet another divisional matchup here. We got the Raiders taking on Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City, 9.5 point home favorites, a point total of 48 points. Now that one is interesting to me because Kansas City has been rough this entire season. Have they beat anyone by more than 9 points? Let's take a look real quick.
In our handy dandy notebook.
Why doesn't this tell me anything?
Is your computer on?
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat Denver by 13.
Is that it?
They beat Dallas by 10. They beat Vegas by a number higher than 20. They can't count.
All right, here we go. All right, so Broncos, they beat by 13, Cowboys 10, Raiders, what's that, 27, Packers by 6, Giants by 3. Okay, all right, so they've been getting wins. It just feels like they haven't been because I have them on my fantasy teams, and it feels like they do nothing. All right. Well, in that case, I do believe Kansas City wins. They seem to be on a pretty good track here. Vegas's defense has been pretty bad. So in the past 4 weeks, Raiders giving up second most points to the quarterback, third most to the running back, seventh most to the wide receiver, and second most to the tight end. So start your Kansas City Chiefs this matchup. And, given that, I'll take KC to win and cover.
I'll take Kansas City to win, but I'm going to take the Raiders to cover. I think that what we've seen from the Raiders is that they can put up a lot of points, and that's something that's not good for Kansas City. So I think that 10's too much.
All right. Model is same thing. It's going to take Kansas City to win, Raiders to cover. Next matchup here, Seattle taking on Houston. Oh, I'm curious what this line is. That's it? Okay. Seattle is 8.5 point away favorites, only a 40.5 point total here. So low scoring game, it looks like. But if there's any game or any team you can play and get back on track, it is Houston. So if Russ does his work like he should, if they let him cook, as they say, they should have this game in hand pretty good. I can think of his name. Tyrod is going to be benched this game. They are going to be starting Davis Mills for the rest of the season, it makes sense, right? They want to see what they have in him, even though they've already been kind of starting him earlier in the season. Maybe, I guess, just because of Tyrod's injury, but it makes sense. Let's see what you have on the rookie. See if he is the future for your team. I'm not so sure, but that remains to be determined. Both of these defenses suck, Pat. Who are you taking?
I don't know. I just feel like for some reason my heart wants to say Seattle, but I just don't feel it. I feel something's wrong. I feel that, fortunately they beat the 49ers by 7, but the Texans are so bad too. You're really putting me in a bad spot by having to make a decision It's like that South Park episode, the douche or the turd sandwich. So I think I'm going to take Seattle to win, but Houston to cover. I'm feeling crazy.
All right. And just to, you look at the public betting here, Pat, and that goes with your strategy. Only 30% of the bets are on Houston. Man, I think Seattle wins as well. I think Seattle wins. That is a lot of points here. I'm with you. I'll take Houston to cover as well. The model is going to be taking Seattle to win and cover. Another just awful matchup. Jacksonville going to Tennessee to play the Titans. Titans are same spread, 8.5 point home favorites, slightly higher over under of 43.5 points. I don't know. We talked about them quite a bit in the last episode, how they don't seem to be able to really get things together here. Once they lost Derrick Henry, the team just slowly kind of crumbled apart. AJ Brown, IR, Julio Jones, hurt. Everyone just kind of getting banged up on this team, and it's that, next man up kind of mentality here. The Titans have lost 2 straight here. Their last win was against the Saints, but they also beat the Rams somehow. They're an interesting team and one that is really kind of difficult to decipher. But Jacksonville isn't great. I do like James Robinson. Man, Tennessee gives up a lot of points as well to the quarterback position. They give up the 3rd most points to the quarterback and the most points to the wide receiver. So that's a little interesting there. So if anything, maybe you start Trevor Lawrence in some fantasy lineups, but I think I got to go Tennessee to win. And what do I do with you, Jacksonville? See, this is the type of matchup that Jacksonville will come up and just easily beat up on Tennessee, but I'm not going to predict that. I'm going to take Tennessee to win and cover.
Yeah, I agree with you. This isn't the game. If they were playing the Patriots, I think the Jaguars might be able to pull it off because that seems to be the case. But I don't trust them right now. And until they want to play James Robinson, they're not really going to have any offense. I don't care if Tennessee gives up the most points to the quarterback or the wide receiver, whatever you said. Trevor Lawrence is a dodo, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Model agrees with us. Titans to cover and win. Another dirty matchup. The Saints taking on the Jets. Jets are 5.5 point home underdogs. Again, a very low over under here of 43 points. Taysom Hill getting the start here again. Alvin Kamara should be set to play as well. What that does for the team, I guess, is going to remain to be seen. He's been out for quite a bit. Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore, I liked what I saw from them. They got a win. And Elijah Moore is just, again, a fantastic rookie wide receiver. And there's just a lot of them this season, which is really interesting to see. But we've seen teams fail when they don't have a running back. And the Jets don't. It's going to be Ty Johnson, it looks like here. Tevin Coleman has been rolled out with a concussion, I believe. Then Austin Walter and LaMichael Pirine. So that is a rough thing to happen here, especially when Seattle. Wow. The Saints have been giving up the 4th fewest points to the running back position. So that's going to be even more difficult to an already depleted Jets backfield. So I'll take the Saints to win. I think it is going to be closer. I think Wilson's going to have to chuck it. So I'll take Saints to win, but Jets to cover.
I hate saying this, but I'm going to take the Saints to win and to cover. I think they both stink, but the Saints stink less.
The model is going to be taking the Saints to win and cover. Another divisional matchup. Atlanta Falcons taking on Carolina. Carolina are 3-point home favorites. Cam Newton, for God knows why, is going to get another start here. No CMC anymore. Chuba Hubbard will get the start in the backfield. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I'm sorry for them. Maybe PJ Walker will come out and put up some points for them, but Atlanta has not looked good at all either. But Carolina, the only thing that's going to keep Carolina in this game is their defense. So I don't know what to pick here. This is just a terrible, terrible matchup. So I'm going to let you pick first, Pat.
I'm just going to go off of the fact that the Panthers beat the Falcons last time 19-13. So I'll take them to win and to cover.
Shit. I'll stick my hand in both pots. I'll take Carolina to win, Atlanta to cover. Just because I have no idea what happens in that game. That one's very close to me. All right, next matchup here. The Lions are traveling to Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are 10-point home favorites. And for good reason, Pat. While we were doing our last episode, I got a notification for quite a few issues that the Lions are going to run into, quite a lot more than before. So we knew DeAndre Swift was not going to play. Jamal Williams now on the COVID-19 list, so he'll be out. TJ Hawkinson is doubtful to play. So their starting lineups are going to be Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who did have a good game. Josh Reynolds also looked good. Brock Wright is going to start at tight end, and then Godwin. Oh boy, Igwe Boyke. I definitely butchered that. Is going to be the starting running back here. So and Denver's defense is already tough. I'm pretty easily going to take Denver to win and cover here.
This is the week that the Lions are going to lose. The winning streak's over. I wanted to be dramatic and I failed. I'll take the Broncos to win, but I think the Lions will cover. I think they have a good momentum. I don't care who's in for that team. They just have like the underdog factor that everybody wants. And I just don't know if I trust the Broncos right now. I mean, they have a good team. We put them in the C tier in our last episode, but just kind of all over the place. Losing to Kansas City, but beating the Chargers. To me, those comparable teams. And then you lose to Philadelphia, but you beat Dallas. Like it doesn't make sense with them. But Detroit has shown that, Jared Goff is a superstar. He's probably the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think that they'll at least make it competitive.
New York Giants going to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. The Chargers are also going to be 10-point home favorites in a very low over-under game. 43 points there. And Chargers have officially rolled out Keenan Allen for COVID. Mike Williams has been testing negative, so if that continues to happen, he will be playing. So, that looks like a good game for Mike Williams. So maybe he bumps back up here. So Herbert, Eckler, Mike Williams, Jared Cook, I think they're all absolutely startable here against the Giants have been okay defensively, but I don't think they have the plums to beat the Chargers here, just after we saw them just go off on the Bengals last week. So I'll take the Chargers to win. I really don't know how the Giants score here, so I think I'd take them to cover as well.
Yeah, if we're talking fruit, I think the banana's going into the Giants' peach. So I think I'm going to take the Chargers to win and to cover. I don't feel confident saying that, but I think now's the time for San Diego. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now's the time for Los Angeles. And I'm reading their name on the freaking computer. But whatever.
I wish they were San Diego.
I like that they went back to the lighter blue uniforms. The dark blue is stupid.
Yeah, they look good. Model, Chargers to win. Giants to cover.
I was wrong.
Giants injuries here. Kadarius Toney is going to be out. Shepard's questionable. Galladay is questionable, but who cares? And then Barkley, not on the injury report, so that's good. San Francisco going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. I just don't get how San Francisco keeps getting favored, but they are 1.5 away favorites in this game. I'm taking Cincinnati to straight up win in this one. Set to be a higher scoring affair here, according to Vegas, at 48.5 points. I understand that Cincinnati got beat on by the Chargers last week, but I don't care. You know, if I just don't believe in the San Francisco team, especially if Debo is out. So looking at their injury report, they ruled out Elijah Mitchell with a concussion and a knee injury. Another running back that they have, Trenton Cannon with a concussion. Debo is questionable to play with a groin injury. That would surprise me, honestly, if he comes back. Maybe they force him back because they kind of need to make that playoff push. But that seems questionable if they force him back this early. So, I'm taking Cincinnati winning cover.
Yeah, I kind of disagree. I don't really know if having Debo is a huge difference. And my main concern is just the Bengals really haven't done anything. Like, I'm going to go back through their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned they got beat up by the Chargers, but they beat a really bad Pittsburgh team, a really bad Raiders team, lost to the Browns, lost to the Jets. Their last impressive win was Baltimore on October 24th. Outside in that, they've only beat the Vikings, which they're not good. Steelers, they're not good. Jaguars, they're not good. I can get on this whole list. I think the Bengals, like, their schedule may have been misleading, and their record might be more misleading than what I've really thought about. Even though their team is good, I don't know if they've really been tested. And for me, I think San Francisco has at least been tested in a better division. So
can I counter argument that?
What's that?
I'm going to counter argument that.
Okay.
Using the same logic you just had. So looking at San Francisco's wins, they just lost to Seattle. We both agree that they're a D-level team. They beat the Vikings, whatever. They beat the Jaguars, whatever. Their best win was against Los Angeles Rams on November 15th. Definitely give them that one. That was an impressive win, 31-10. Lost to the Cardinals. That's expected. Beat the Bears. Who cares? Lost to the Colts. Lost to the Cardinals, lost to Seattle, lost to the Packers, and then they beat the Lions and the Eagles. So both resumes, are not super impressive in terms of wins. Cincinnati got like you said, their last good win against a decent team with Baltimore, and then San Francisco got their last good win against a decent team with the Rams. Other than that, I think both of their schedules have been similar, but the Bengals are slightly better, by one win.
Yeah, I think I just talked myself into not caring about this game at all. Because now I'm just really upset that this is a above 500 matchup. So the stat that I'm looking at, passing yards against per game, 49ers are fourth, which is kind of crazy thing about what division they're in. The Bengals are 27th. They're allowing over 250 passing yards per game. I really think that San Francisco's defense is what's going to make or break this game. So I don't care about Debo. I'm going to take the Niners to win and cover.
Now, those passing yards, were they to the wide receiver position or?
This is just total passing yards.
Okay. Finally, a good matchup. We have Buffalo going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers 3.5-point home favorites, and that after seeing what New England was able to do to them, that feels like an easy one for me. I know we say this every time the Bills lose, that they're a good enough team to bounce back, I think it's difficult to bounce back against what we consider an S tier team. So I'm taking Tampa Bay to win, and I do like that 3.5 line there. I'll take them to cover as well.
I think this is a great game to start Leonard Fournette. And I've been talking about how bad Buffalo's defense has looked, but what's surprising is points against Buffalo second, total yards against Buffalo number 1, passing yards against Buffalo number 1, rushing yards against Buffalo number 12. The Buccaneers are second, but the Bills don't run the ball. We know this. What's really surprising is the sacks. Buffalo's in 27th with 20 total sacks. Wow. The Bucs have 32, and that's number 4. So to me, I think that what this game is going to be, it's going to be a lot of Leonard Fournette, and it's going to be a lot of Tom Brady having a lot of time to do whatever he wants to do. Now, I don't think that the passing is going to be there for Tampa, but I think it's going to be a really close game because I'm not really concerned about the Bills' offense. I'm more concerned about Tampa having possession of the ball and maintaining the control of the game. So I disagree with you. I have to ride the train, and I don't like that 80% of the money is on the bets and 85% is on the percentage of total money for the money line for the Buccaneers to win. So I'm going to fade the public. I think the Bills are going to win. I'm going to take the points, and I think it's going to be because the Bills are going to be able to shut Tom Brady down, and it's going to be a low-scoring game, and they're just going to be able to pull it out.
So bring up your point about starting Leonard Fournette. Buffalo's defense has been solid. They rank 28th best, or what's that, 4th worst for fantasy quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends, all the same. However, in the past 4 weeks, they've given up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. So Lenny's looking to have a good day. Now our primetime matchups, Divisional 1, Chicago taking on Green Bay. Ooh, I think this is the biggest spread. Oh, I forgot to read the model. Model is going to take Buffalo to win and cover. Next, we have our primetime matchup, Sunday Night Football, Chicago taking on Green Bay. I'm pretty sure this is the biggest spread of the week. Green Bay is a 12.5 point home favorites, but a super low over-under. But it takes 2 to tango here. 43 total points expected to be scored here. That gives it an implied point total of 27.75 to Green Bay, 15.25 for Chicago. And Justin Fields is going to be back in this game. So yay for Chicago. I don't really know there. But either way, Green Bay easily to win here. I don't think I would. You're obviously not actually going to take that money line bet. Those are terrible, terrible odds and not worth it. But the cover, man, it's just such a big spread. I don't like taking massive point spreads like that, but I'm always willing to bet against Justin Fields, so I will.
Yeah, I agree with you. And something that's really weird and kind of misleading, and maybe that you might have some insight, is I'm on Yahoo, and their public betting percentage for the money line, 94% of the bets are on Green Bay, but 100% of the money is on Green Bay. So how does that make sense? Is that a rounding up situation, or are people parlaying the Bears in there and that's why it's not counting it?
I would guess it's a rounding thing, or it's just so minuscule that it doesn't even count.
A bunch of people put $1 bets on the Bears.
Exactly. No one's really looking to take that risk.
But yeah, I agree. Packers win and cover.
Model Packers to win, Bears to cover. It has the Packers winning by 11.3. Final matchup. This is another really good one and also a very important game. The Los Angeles Rams are going to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is back completely. It sounds like Chase Edmonds should also be back in this game. Hopkins is back. Green's in there. Kirk's there. This is going to be a slugfest of a game. Arizona is favored by 2.5 points. Over under a 51.5 points here. Rams have not impressed me at all in the past few weeks, so I like Kyler. Give me Kyler to win and cover in this matchup.
Agreed. And even if Chase Edmonds comes back, I think this is a great opportunity to still start James Conner, because looking at, the Rams defense points against, they're in the middle of the pack at 16th. Passing yards against their middle of the pack, which isn't relevant to James Conner, but I think what I'm really concerned about is Arizona marching the ball down the field very quickly and then just rushing it in really quickly with James Conner. I think that that's probably going to happen a lot. So I do like Arizona in this one. And what's concerning is a very, very high amount of money on Arizona on the money line. 85% of bets, 97% of the money. That's always concerning, but I think you're right. The Rams have sort of faded a little bit. And if anything, the Cardinals should be coming back more healthy. So I think that this is a good opportunity for Arizona to solidify themselves as the best team in the NFC West.
And the Cardinals defense has just been fantastic on the season as a whole. And of course, the guy you got to shut down is Cooper Kupp. Rams get the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position, and it's almost all Cooper Kupp. The Cardinals are the 23rd best, or what's that, 9th worst for fantasy wide receivers. So if they can shut down Cooper Kupp, he really seems to be the only way they move the ball. I understand Sony Michel had a good game last week as well, but that feels fluky, especially given who they played. So I think the Arizona defense, if they come to play the way they have been all season, they can really take it to the Rams here and like you said, prove who the best team in this division is. But that will do it for our bets here. If you want to follow them along or take a quick glance at what we are betting, you can follow us on our action networks. The podcast is SWTN_podcast. The machine learning model is SWTN_ML_model. I'm at Fantasy Football, PYANTASY football, and Pat is at Pat Fox, all on Action Network. You can also follow us on our website, sleepingwiththenumbers.com, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We do things sometimes. But one thing I always do is some prop betting. So I use Monkey Knife Fight for all of my prop betting. It's way too easy to do. It's a little scary, actually. But you pick a player, pick a stat, over, under, put in your bet. Easy enough. Use our link. Your first deposit gets matched instantly up to $100.
And what's really exciting is that BarkBox has their holiday exclusives out. So if you use our link, you get a free month, or sometimes you get a free toy, whatever you choose to end up doing. But we got Rudolph, we got Spider-Man, so you can really talk about who the real Spider-Man is. And it's not, Tobey Maguire is not featured in this one, but he really should be. We got Peanuts, we got Home Alone. So BarkBox is a great way to get a monthly subscription box for your dog, and it gives you high value treats and great toys to allow for them to play and not get bored with the same thing over and over. And it prevents you from having to go to Target or any of those other stores and buy cheap dog toys that just get destroyed in seconds. BarkBox has a box made for every single dog. So you can look at the other options that they have, and I highly recommend it. I use a Super Chewer box for my dog, who's a pit bull, and she destroys everything, but she has a really tough time getting through these toys. So it's been a blessing for us.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time.